Hood. Bobby, how are you doing today?
Just great. Excited to keep talking about these Gallup strengths, like these Gallup ideas. Like it's really been stuff I've been thinking about. You know, what I could have done differently back when I went through all this stuff.
I know, right? Well, and what Bobby's talking about is we've been speaking about the Gallup Purdue Study. And
Yeah.
what the study was all about is the 6 things that students can do in college to really help have a life of well-being after college, which is, I think, super interesting that, you can have activities in college that will actually make you happy in your life, and that is that important.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'll tell you what the 6 subjects are. And the first 3 are all around having support in college. The first one is I had at least one professor at college who made me excited about learning. My professors at college cared about me as a person. And I had a mentor who encouraged me to pursue my goals and dreams.
Right.
Now, the last 3 are more about what they call experiential. So it's I worked on a project that took a semester or more to complete. I had an internship or job that allowed me to apply what I was learning in the classroom, which is what we're going to talk about today. And then lastly, I was extremely active in extracurricular activities and organizations while attending college. So going back to this, the whole premise is if you can seek out these activities, it's just going to help you have a happier life. And really, Bobby, you and I have talked that a lot of this is really around that career piece.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've talked about this before, but I was unsure what career I should be in, what career I would enjoy. I kind of just, changed majors a few times. And so I ended up just in a job being an accountant and discovered that most of the people in that job were really unhappy and it really didn't suit me at all. There were people who really enjoyed it. And I guess who are, that I know from back then that are still doing it, but it was not the right thing for me. And, I would have appreciated figuring that out and not wasting my time,
Right. So had you seeked out an internship or even a job, in that during college, you probably would have figured that out while you were there, that it wasn't the right fit, right?
I think absolutely, because when I went and, started in the at the accounting firm, I mean, it took only a very short time to realize that a lot of the people were really unhappy and not enjoying themselves, and to see the work that they were actually doing. And, I did, you do go spend a few weeks being recruited or whatever, right? And they come in and they show you the office and they take you out to lunch or whatever for interviews. So I did that, but of course you don't find out anything. They only tell you all the good stuff. And so, I should have done that. And I remember, that I did my, junior year, I did spend a little bit of time working, at an investment firm for a couple of months just to have a job, because my parents said, it'd be nice to have a job and make some money before you, go off to school and start getting used to work. And I did, but it was unrelated to accounting at all. It was just, a regular brokerage house. And that seemed sort of fine to me. I knew that I didn't want to be cold calling people, but so I knew, all I heard was this kind of, I was just so passive about things. My parents said, hey, maybe you should get a job. So I went and got a job. So I did that. Right. But it didn't occur to me that I could have gone and asked for an internship, or I could have gone to the career center and asked them, do people do this? What kind of opportunities are available? I never did that. And all you have to do is go walk in there, because
I know. And I think what
right.
is being intentional. You
Exactly.
always hear all these kids trying to get internships. And, I think being intentional about saying, let me get the internship if you can. I'm sure it's, the jobs have to be there, but getting an internship in something that you're studying so that you can really test drive it and figure out if that's truly what you want to do with the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Absolutely.
And as we're talking through this, Bobby, for me, I was like, even after your freshman summer, I think it would be important if you're thinking about a specialized career or a career path, starting as soon as that so that you can test drive as
Mhm.
many of these careers as possible.
Absolutely. I mean, there's, I mean, I spent one summer in summer school, I think, right? And one summer I did I did 2 summers in summer school, and one of them on a trip to England, which is really a neat opportunity and very exciting. But like there are other choices, and another is go look for an internship, and you need something to do in the summers, and
Well,
and
and I'll
so I think that's a great thing to do.
Yeah, and for me personally, I worked all through
Hmm.
college, and now I look back at it and I said, yes, it was great. I had a job that entire
Hmm.
time. I paid my entire college
Hmm.
tuition through that job, which we've
Hmm.
talked about kids can't do today.
Yeah.
So, but
Right.
but now I kind of look back and say, wow, maybe I should have, thought more about the internship route, or at least
Right. I mean,
in what I wanted to do, right?
exactly. I mean, if you had if all that time you spent working, if you had been able to find something that was in one of the fields that you're interested in, the fields that you're majoring in, it could have either helped you figure out which area you wanted to be in, or what kinds of jobs there were, or what you would like or dislike. And instead, yeah, you and I both were just like, oh, well, let's get a job that makes money, right? And didn't really go and ask the career center or whoever, about that, because I know a lot of colleges focus really hard on having those connections with, they've got connections with alumni who are in business. They absolutely can set up things like that, right? But they're not going to call you up and say, "Hey, we want you to go intern," right?
Right. Yeah,
They
you've got
only want the students
yeah.
who are interested.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I do think it's, just a message for parents. One of the things that you and I've talked about that parents at this point in, their kid's life feel that
Hmm.
disconnect where they're pulling away. We're not getting to see them, this every
Hmm.
day,
Yeah.
and having, this might be a great conversation starter to say, maybe we should consider this, and here's the reasons behind it. If you get to
Hmm.
try some of these out, you're going to figure out right now if it's something you enjoy or not. So I think it's a
Right.
great conversation. And then the only other thing I think I'd add on the job front is, there are studies around how many hours a college student should work that actually
Hmm.
helps them be a better student. And that
Sure.
number is about 15 hours. So for any parents that are worried about, I don't want my student to have a job because they're just not going to do as well in college, it's really saying the opposite, that having 15 hours of work actually helps them be a better student because they've got better time management.
I think there's no question of that like I did not like that was the first few years, we made that mistake, and I thought, oh, if I had a job, I wouldn't be able to keep my, grades up or
Mhm.
whatever. And that's just not true. Like, unless you're taking some sort of insane course load, right? Like a 22-hour course load or something, you've got so much extra time that you absolutely will not be very organized about it, right?
Right.
Whereas if you had a job, then you're that it forces you. I mean, I think we all know this, but having a job, having more structure in your life makes you get organized, makes you do a better job on everything. And so absolutely. I mean, you certainly, nobody should be working a full-time job and trying to go to college. You can't do that. But 15 hours, it's neat that there have been studies that like they know the number 15 hours, and that's,
Yeah.
that's take, 2 half days and go work or whatever, or take, a couple of half days and whatever, two
Wait
6 hour days or something.
3 times a week,
Yep.
or
Right.
again,
Yeah. 4 hours. Yeah. 5 hours, 3 times a week. Yeah. And that's great. And that's where you get that experience of what it's like to work with people. And, when a lot of students like come out of college not knowing what it is like to work with people. And so not knowing that different jobs would have different kinds of working environments and different, patterns of work. And I mean, I think, like in accounting, it was just, I just found out, I was like, oh, this is one of those jobs that you work 80 hours a week at, and people joke about that, but they really do, and I did. I mean, I spent two years working every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I worked 7 days a week for 2 years straight,
yeah,
with very few days off. And
yes,
that's not like, that's horrible. Like that,
yeah.
it's not healthy, but that's what they do. And that's the way that system is. And if I had known that, I would not have been interested in that.
Well,
That's
and
not healthy.
when I work with my student clients, a lot of time they will tell me, "Oh, Kristen, I don't want to work in an office because I don't want to sit behind a desk all day long." And the reality is, when you're working in an office, you're really not sitting behind your desk all day long, So I
Right.
think having
That's
that
true.
experience, where it kind of debunks that a little bit for them, and they can see that there's lots of interaction and there's
Right.
around and you've got projects. So, even having that experience would be huge.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Like just I think that's the whole point is just we're saying, and I don't think it has to, even like they use the word internship. I don't think you have to have something that has that name, It's just
Mhm.
going and finding out. And that's more than just having a phone call with someone who's 50 who's been in the industry, right? Go in, get in an office, go find out and stay there for more than, 2 hours and go to lunch. Go and get them to, let you work there for a few weeks, see what things are like, start seeing what the actual day-to-day interaction of work is like. I don't think anything could be, more important for like saving yourself. Like, I don't even know, like when I think back how I just went into all of these careers not knowing even the foggiest idea of what it was I was going to be doing. It's just silly. And I think now today's generation is very interested in this. I think they actively want to find a job that they're going to enjoy. And so I think
Yes.
they're going to be a lot more receptive to this than I was as a Gen Xer, and just saying, well, it's probably going to be terrible. And, I'll just go do it and work really hard and whatever job
Right.
it is,
Yeah. And Bobby, there was a different philosophy back then. It
Mhm,
was, "Oh, thank you for giving me a job, and I'm going to work here and do everything
mhm,
I can for you." And now, and I've always said this: millennials kind of get a bad rap. That
mhm,
people are like, "Oh, they're soft, they're this," and I was like, you know what? The one thing that I think they've really gotten right is they're willing to say, "I'm not happy. I'm
mhm.
out."
Yeah.
And take action. And, that's one of the things too, when I'm speaking to high school and college students, I'm like, if you know this is wrong, if you
Mhm.
know you've got that pit in your stomach saying, I'm not having fun, and
Yep.
you use terms like C's get degrees, get out of the major, do something that feels good and that you enjoy. And, the earlier you can do that, the better, of course, because you can get out of school faster. But man, trust that gut feel. If it's not right, get out. Fail hard, fail fast, fail often, but don't fail the.
Well, I think that's what's so neat about this conversation is because now when you put it all together, like what you're helping students do is figure out what your strengths are, which helps you figure out what
Mhm.
sorts of careers might be a good place to look at, right? Because they might make you happy and get you engaged and excited. And then also what sorts of jobs inside those careers would help you, like which roles in those industries or careers might work with your strengths. And then combine that in with the studies that we're talking about here. This study, the Gallup Purdue study, like they have figured out exactly what kinds of things also combine well with that, which
Mhm.
is going and finding out if those strengths, like, so just going, because I mean, you can't do it backwards. If you just go and randomly pick a major and then randomly go get an internship in that career, if you don't know that your strengths would probably, fit with that, then you're on the wrong path already, right? But
Absolutely.
at least you might find it out. But if you've gone through what are my strengths and you've thought about where you might be happy, now you've got a good shot. At least there's a good chance that this might be a place you would enjoy. And then, yeah, you go try out an internship. And it could be now, instead of do I like this or hate this, it's which role is the right one for me, right? And that's kind of how it was when I was going into law school. Like, I would go into interviews and they'd say, do you want to be a litigator or do you want to be a corporate attorney or a transactional attorney? And I wasn't even sure much of the difference at first. And then, like I figured out that I wanted to be transactional and not a litigator, but I still didn't know, like in transactional law, there are hundreds of kinds of law, and I didn't even know, and so I just ended up at the law firm that would hire me, doing
Yep.
municipal bond
Mhm.
law. And if I had investigated, maybe I would have made a better choice, So.
Absolutely. And Bobby, and as you know, you're not alone. When
Right.
we know that 70% of workers today are not engaged in their work. 70%. That
Wow.
means 30% of people really love their work and are totally engaged in it. So that's
Wow.
a huge number. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we want kids,
Fascinating.
that are going through college today to be
Mhm.
more intentional so that they can get out of college and enjoy what they're doing. And that's what this is all about.
Absolutely. Yeah, and get out of college in 4 years instead of 5 or 6. Right?
Yeah, hopefully, but it kind of goes back to, yeah, that's the goal.
Mhm.
But if you figure out that you're in the wrong role, you know
Oh, yeah.
what? It's better to take the hit on the year and get into the right place because this is a
Oh, no
blip on
question.
the road, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the point is just to be actually trying to figure out where you should be and knowing things about your own skills and that thing. Yeah, and absolutely. If you do, because yeah, like you absolutely could find yourself a couple of years down a path and then figure out, even though your strengths may fit there, that isn't where your passion is. And then you switch. And that's great because I mean, we've both, like changed what we're doing. And so many people I know have changed what they're doing multiple times in their lives. And that's something that is part of life that, absolutely is just part of the game. And so it's
It
just
is.
neat to start thinking about it earlier instead of
Right, because we all have
getting
to start
surprised by it.
somewhere, right? We've got to start
Yeah.
somewhere. And if you can at least put a little bit of thought behind it early on, you're further
Mhm.
off. I always call it get rid of all the white noise, the stuff that you know
Mhm.
you don't want to do, and be intentional about, okay, why didn't I like that stuff? So
Yeah,
now you can pick the stuff you do like. So yeah, come on, go
absolutely.
kids. We want them to make this work and be happy. So
Mhm.
awesome. All right, Bobby, we are good to go. And thank you
Well,
so
that's
much.
great.
We'll talk
Well,
again next week.
absolutely. Yeah. Have a great week. I'll
All
see
right,
you
bye.
next time.